Fox's Bret Baier just conducted a deeply revealing interview with former FBI Director Jim Comey. During that interview, Comey tried to claim that the Steele dossier, the one he hid information about from the president, was not central to the request for a FISA warrant against people affiliated with the Trump campaign. Here's part of it.
You called the dossier unverified, salacious. Why did you use that to the FISA court to ask for surveillance for Carter Page? Not only use it, but you led with it. A bulk of that FISA application deals with that dossier. Why?
Yeah, that's not my recollection, Bret. And I don't know that the FISA application has been released. My recollection was it was part of a broader mosaic of facts that were laid before the FISA judge to obtain a FISA warrant.
There was a lot more than the dossier in the FISA application?
My recollection was there was a significant amount of additional material about Page and why there was probable cause to believe he was an agent of a foreign power. And the dossier was part of that, but was not all of it or a critical part of it, to my recollection.
I don't know that it's been released. Hiding behind government secrecy once again. Congressman Trey Gowdy represents South Carolina. He chairs the Oversight Committee in the House of Representatives, and he joins us tonight. Mr. Chairman, thanks for coming on. What did you watched the interview. What did you learn from it?
A couple of things. Number one, the Page and Strzok he would have fired immediately, which means the two agents that were leading both the Clinton and Trump investigations should have been canned. Director Comey's recollection is flawed. If he does not remember telling Congress that his agents told him they didn't think Flynn was lying, then he needs to get his lawyers to go back and look at the transcript. We did not mishear. Maybe he misspoke, but that's in the transcript. And the double standard that he's had for the last couple of weeks still exists. You know, Clinton can lie and she ought to be president. McCabe can lie and he's still a stand-up guy. But Trump, boy, if he tells any lies at all, then impeachment is too good of a remedy for him.
And that dangerous Martha Stewart who went to prison for lying, and he brags about that in his book, right? He doesn't remember a lot. He doesn't remember when he first heard about the Steele dossier. He doesn't remember who told him about the Steele dossier. Is that plausible?
No, because he knew that Republicans paid for it, even though that's inaccurate. So if he learned about it in the fall of 2016, then it was already known that the Democrats had picked up on that work. So whoever briefed him, why would you just say the Republicans started it, but not also include the Democrats finished it? So right. the part about it not being part of the FISA application, not a significant part, then Tucker, why did you use it at all? And I've actually read the application, and he's just wrong. It was an indispensable part of the application, period.
So how can he claim otherwise? I mean, his first reaction was, I don't think that's been made public. In other words, you can't prove me wrong because you and the rest of the civilians asking these questions, the American citizens here, don't have access to the relevant information. But as you just pointed out, you do. You've seen it. That's not true. This forms a central part of the request, correct?
Well, there are three parts of it. This is one of the parts. They led with it. And if my recollection is correct, it occupied a disproportionately large part of that application. So I go back and ask all those who say it wasn't important, then why did you use it? If you didn't need it, why did you use it and why did you lead with it?
So let's strip away the politics and take Trump out of this so we can see clearly. At the core is the allegation that Carter Page, the hapless Carter Page, was acting, as the former director said tonight, as an agent of a foreign power. Is that a plausible claim? Do you think any reasonable person looking at the available evidence could reach a conclusion that Carter Page is a Russian agent?
It'd be tough. I think most people that have any experience with Carter Page, which would include the FBI, because they've interviewed him on a number of occasions, you'd be more likely to call him a clown than a spy.
So what do you make of that?
And I don't say that to be disparaging towards him. I mean, I spent a lot of time with him in a congressional committee room. Right. If anyone needed his Fifth Amendment right to counsel, if anyone needed a lawyer while he was talking to Congress, it would have been Carter Page. I just don't. I mean, he's not James Bond. He's not Jason Bourne. It's sad, actually.
So if our top law enforcement official can say with a straight face on live television that Carter Page is a foreign spy and represents a threat to American national security, he's lying, it sounds like.
Well, I don't quarrel with the FBI wanting to run out a lead. I mean, I'm probably biased, well, I am biased towards law enforcement. Go ahead and run out the lead. The challenge then becomes when you are going to spy on an American citizen, it needs to be more than a lead. You need to have probable cause and make all proper representations to the court. The other thing I will tell you, Tucker, that I learned tonight is Jim Comey has a definition of the word leak that no one else has. Yeah. What he says is a leak is what the rest of us call a felony. Leaking is disclosing a confidential conversation, which is exactly what he did.
He came off as much oilier in this interview than I've ever seen him. I thought it was deeply revealing, and I'm glad you shared my reaction to it. Mr. Chairman, thank you for coming on.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
During that interview, we're talking about Comey also had this to say about fired FBI director, Deputy Director, rather, Andrew McCabe. Watch.
Yeah, I still believe he stood tall. He represented himself and the organization under tremendous stress during that period after I was fired. But I read the IG report as you did. It concluded that Andy had not been candid. This is what accountability looks like in the Justice Department.
Should he be prosecuted?
That's not for me to say.
Well, wait, you said it in the Clinton case.
Well, I was then the director of the FBI.
Which was not your role at that moment.
Private citizens should not be calling for the prosecution of people in a case they're not involved in. But I do believe, as it routinely happens, the IG will likely refer it or has referred it to a U.S. Attorney's Office to look at it.
Julian Epstein is former chief counsel of the House Judiciary Committee, and he joins us tonight. Julian, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I know you don't like Trump and you're for the Mueller investigation. Fine. But this is really about Comey, and so I think it concerns all Americans, regardless of their political point of view. I don't think you could watch this interview and not come away with grave concerns about his commitment to basic civil liberties for all Americans.
Look, I think Bret did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Tim Russert quality interview. It was really, really a very good interview. But, I mean, the two criticisms that have come, I watched a little bit of the coverage on the network, was that he wasn't fully revealing about the Steele dossier with the FISA application. And he wasn't clear when that started. And I think the facts are relatively clear that it was an investigation with Fusion GPS that started under Republicans. Democrats took it over.
Yeah.
In the FISA application for Carter Page, who had been incidentally under investigation since 2013-14 by the intelligence agencies.
But that doesn't mean he did anything wrong.
Well, he had said that he was regularly in touch with Russian intelligence.
No, Martin Luther King was under investigation. I'm not comparing them. I'm just saying, look, being under investigation is not a signifier that you're guilty of anything.
Right, but I think the intelligence agencies, who have more information than you and I do,
well, where is it?
Well, I think it's part of an ongoing investigation. I don't expect that to be public. I don't think you expect that to be public.
I actually do at this point. I expect to know if you destroy a man's reputation, his livelihood, his capacity to support his family going forward, as we've done with Carter Page, you better tell me how he's a threat to American national security, and they haven't.
Well, I think the intelligence agencies believe that he was a dupe of Russian intelligence for many years, going back to 13 and 14. The point of the matter with Comey today
Do you think he
that
was?
I don't have the information.
Oh, so does it bother you that an American citizen has been destroyed by our intel and law enforcement agencies on the basis of no available evidence of wrongdoing? Why wouldn't, as a civil libertarian, you think, whoa, if that could happen to him, it could happen to me?
Well, I'm not sure his reputation has been destroyed. He's
Carter Page?
He's done a fair amount to destroy his reputation himself, as Trey Gowdy just said.
Oh, come on.
And I think a lot of what has come out about Carter Page has been because of the Republican investigations.
Okay, but whatever. I'm
oversight of the FBI.
Look,
so are you saying
before
to me,
you spy on an American citizen, you better have really good. Look, these are questions that liberals used to worry about.
And
what if
the
power?
So.
Amen. And they've stopped because they hate Trump, and so everything is okay. In light of that, you should care about Carter Page regardless of his IQ, regardless of his political affiliation.
We agree on that.
Yes.
We agree on that.
So this guy has been destroyed. No one will stand up for him. And for what? There's no evidence he did anything wrong.
You're telling me if the intelligence agencies believe that the Russians are using him as a dupe, that they have co-opted him,
yes,
and they have had that information since 2014, based in part on the public statements he's made himself. You're saying the intelligence agency should give somebody a pass?
That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that once you have investigated him, and once you've let the rest of us know that you are investigating him, and once you've implied he's working for Russia, as that creep Comey just did on live television, you better prove that he did something wrong.
I think that Page it said as much himself.
That he was working for the Russian government against U.S. interests.
Page in 2013 and 14, at least according to reports, indicated that he was in contact with Russian intelligence.
Well, you know what? I've been in contact with all kinds of foreign governments.
Are you in intelligence with? Are you in contact with Russian intelligence?
No, but I live in D.C. I deal with
why would an American citizen be
all the time.
Why would an American citizen be in touch with Russian intelligence?
You must be
if they
kidding.
weren't trying to use them.
You must be kidding.
No.
The number of foreign intel operatives in this city dealing with American citizens, including you and me and everyone else who lives here from lots of different countries, is overwhelming. And so the idea that you talk to someone from a foreign country,
you're
that you're guilty.
No, not a foreign country. So you're going to tell me, Tucker, this is a very interesting conversation. You tell me that if a Russian intelligence agent comes to you and starts having regular conversations with you,
you're not going to report.
You're not going to report that to the FBI.
What I'm saying
what if you know it's a Russian intelligence agent?
I don't know. It would be case by case.
You wouldn't report that to the FBI?
I'm a loyal American. I've done nothing to betray my country. My point is, before you suggest that someone has done something to betray his country, you better prove it. What we're doing right now is McCarthyism. We're destroying people for political ends, and the left is standing by and letting it happen because they hate Trump. And I'm telling you that we are losing something really important, which is the presumption of innocence.
So I agree with you on the presumption of innocence. I agree with you on the principle. What we're talking about here is intelligence agencies getting a warrant from an Article III judge, a FISA court judge, who the judge on 4 different occasions believed that there was probable cause to believe that he was involved with a foreign agency.
This is all crap,
okay, this
and
is
you know it, because over 90%, I'll tell you why, because over 90% of requests are granted. None of them are turned down.
It doesn't mean they're wrong.
So let's see the application. Let's judge for ourselves. And people like Comey and the destroyers of civil liberties like him and all of the people who are abetting it are saying, oh, it's secret, you can't learn. Why can't I learn?
I'm all for the disclosure of it. I'm all for the disclosure of that FISA application.
Dude, how would you feel if this was being used against Democrats right now? You would be as upset as you should be right now.
Look, there's lots of investigations in the world that have occurred against Republicans and Democrats. Sometimes they've been legitimate, sometimes they've been illegitimate. Nobody has said the investigation into Carter Page is illegitimate. The question that Bret was asking Comey tonight was, well, when did you know that the Democrats were sponsoring the Christopher Steele investigation?
And then Comey looked right in the camera and said, oh, he's an agent of, we thought he was an agent of a foreign government. How dare you say that about somebody?
That's a counterintelligence investigation. But that's the basis for
it's been going on for years. So if they have evidence that he is, indict him. And if they don't, then look right in the camera and say, Carter Page, who graduated from the Naval Academy in Annapolis, did nothing wrong.
I'm not saying that he is. I'm not saying that Carter Page is.
It's so
I'm saying that the intelligence agencies believe that. But I think we're losing a lot of viewers in this conversation.
I know.
We
probably are.
We're so far in the weeds right now.
Civil liberties matter. The left used to defend them, and they don't, and it's getting scary. That's
so if the intelligence agencies have evidence that a U.S. citizen is cooperating with Russian intelligence, and they get a FISA warrant, you don't think that's a legitimate investigation?
Or move on.
Well, a FISA warrant is some level of proof to get it.
Julian, thank you.
Good to